I don't know how Brianna Stewart's getting more votes than Caitlin Clark. I don't understand what's going on here. This whole list is starting to look a little bit fishy already. Already, it seems like there's some agenda at.
It already feels like a specific agenda is being pushed. The Indiana Fever's GM is likely feeling the heavy weight of immediate regret, and the whole basketball community is witnessing it in real time. This wasn't just a simple mistake or a rough patch that a front office can easily hide and move past. This was a total organizational breakdown that has been simmering behind the scenes for months. Now, it has burst into the light for every fan, analyst, and executive in the league to see. The people who were supposed to be the leaders, the ones meant to protect the team and make wise choices, were the very same people undermining the most significant player this franchise has ever seen. Now, the fallout from that pride is landing right on the GM's desk, with no more excuses to give. When your star player is the most influential figure women's basketball has seen in a generation, someone who fills arenas, spikes TV ratings, and puts the league on the map every single night, you cannot disrespect her and expect to walk away unscathed. The fans have been flagging issues with how Caitlin Clark has been treated for months. Every warning that was ignored and every concern that was pushed aside has now come back to haunt them in a very public and painful way. This is the result of a front office choosing their own ego over their responsibility to their star. This is why the GM is feeling the heat right now, and nobody who has been paying attention is surprised by how things fell apart. This was never about one bad day. It was about a deep-seated pattern of disrespect that the organization allowed to grow while fans practically screamed that something was wrong. The evidence is clear, the timeline is obvious, and now the GM has to live with the results of every choice made while Caitlin Clark kept showing up and performing, only to be let down by her own team. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is where the conversation gets real, because what's happening here is about more than just roster moves. There is a much bigger, more uncomfortable discussion going on about credit and who actually built this new wave of WNBA popularity. The financial impact Caitlin Clark has had on salaries, TV deals, and visibility isn't an opinion. It's a documented fact. Yet, the person most responsible for this growth keeps getting pushed to the background while others take the credit. That is a major issue of fairness that this league will eventually have to face.
Last season, this is what I'm talking about. There's an agenda behind all of this. It's weird, and it's blatantly obvious what is going on. And the disrespect is out of this world. The only reason Paige Beckers is making all this money and everybody done got paid is because of the cash cow came in and put the league on her back and saved everything. Let's be clear here. I don't understand why they're trying to push all these other people to the forefront. No other professional league does this, where they have this pity party for all the other players to make everybody feel good about themselves. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
So, the question everyone watching this has to ask is a tough one. How does a team, or even the whole league, allow the player who brings in the crowds and the big contracts to be treated as anything less than the main event? Why does it seem like there's a push to share the credit equally, even when the contributions are clearly not equal? And why are the people benefiting the most from this surge in attention so slow to admit where it's coming from? The truth, as awkward as it is, comes down to optics and politics. When one player's impact is so massive that it overshadows everyone else, there is an institutional urge to change the narrative and make it feel more like a team effort. It protects egos and keeps the locker room from turning into a place of resentment. But it also feels like gaslighting to the fans who saw it happen with their own eyes, those who bought the tickets and tuned in for one specific reason. You can't just delete what people have seen for themselves. The attempt to do that is exactly why this fanbase is so frustrated and won't let the subject go. Now we've reached what might be the most annoying part of the whole story. This isn't just about bad choices behind closed doors anymore. This is about a public selection process that immediately looked like a joke. It was a snub so obvious and impossible to justify that even people who aren't huge fans of Caitlin Clark felt embarrassed for the people who made the list. When a list is supposed to highlight the best and most impactful players, and the woman who changed the game more than anyone in history is missing, it's not an accident. It's a calculated move that everyone can see through.
No one's going to use them. This is an embarrassing list. Genuinely embarrassing. I'll talk about Caitlin Clark getting snubbed, but this is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
So, the question on every viewer's mind right now has to be this.
Who are these rankings actually for? What kind of logic leads to these results? How do you create a list meant to honor excellence and leave out the most talked about and commercially successful player in the league? And more importantly, if the decision makers are this out of touch with what the public sees, what does that say about the credibility of the league's future awards? The answer is something the WNBA leaders need to hear. When politics and personal agendas start to matter more than actual performance, the whole system loses its integrity. Fans aren't stupid. They watch the games and know the stats. They know what they saw all season. When the official record doesn't match the reality on the court, trust breaks down. Once that trust is gone, no PR statement or rebranding can fix it. This is where the debate moves from opinion to reality. We are now looking at how Caitlin Clark is being judged by the people who are supposedly the experts. We aren't talking about fan votes or social media polls here. We are talking about general managers, people paid a lot of money to scout talent, reaching a conclusion about the best point guard that feels completely disconnected from what actually happened during the games.
This is not unrivaled 3-on-3. Now, if this was unrivaled 3-on-3 where she could play bully ball, she could back people down from the three-point line and do all of that, this is a different conversation. There's no way you watch her in 5-on-5 and you think she's the best point guard in the whole league. No way. There's no way you think she's better than Caitlin Clark. There's no way. There's literally no way. This is an agenda. This is hate. It just is what it is. There's no way 73% of these GMs should have been picking.
The question we all have to face now is simple but very uncomfortable. How much can we trust a GM poll when the results ignore the stats, the TV numbers, the ticket sales, and what we all saw with our own eyes? Is it really possible that these experts watched the same games we did and came to this conclusion based only on basketball skills? If there's even a tiny bit of doubt there, then what is actually motivating these rankings? And why does the same player always seem to get the short end of the stick? The conclusion many people are reaching is one the league would rather not talk about. When a voting process ignores both numbers and reality, and when it consistently hurts the same player no matter how well she plays, it's hard to believe it's just a mistake. It suggests that things other than basketball are influencing the outcome. Agenda is a heavy word, but it's the one that fits when the gap between reality and recognition gets this wide. Fans aren't being dramatic. They are just following the facts and waiting for someone in charge to be honest about it. That is where we are now. The Fever's front office and the league's leaders are watching the fallout of their choices in public. Caitlin Clark didn't need their approval to prove she belongs, because the sold-out crowds and record ratings already did that for her. To keep up with everything happening in this story, make sure to subscribe and like the video, because we're going to keep showing you what's really going on inside the league.